Hello everyone, this is One with the Internet from Gemology.com, and today we're doing something very special. We're taking all those decades that came before us in video game history, matching them up to find out which one has been the very best decade for gaming. So today we're here after the facts. And to find the facts, we're using three lists: IGN's top 100 games of all time, Metacritic's top games ranked by users, and this Wikipedia page. Now, IGN's top 100 games of all time, let's go straight down to the 80s. We have a grand total of 3 games: Mrs. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and Tetris. Now let's go down to the 90s, and as we can see here in this, I don't know if you can see it very well because it's kind of small, but this area right here marks 24 games from the 1990s. In the 2000s, we have 26 games being featured. What about the 2010s, you say? Oh, that's going to be 43 games. That's 43 games, and that's a clear win for the 2010s. Now let's see what Wikipedia has to say. We're going to start with the 80s because some of these lists don't even feature games from before the 80s. So we're going to copy up until SimCity. We're going to paste it here in this spreadsheet and see how many games, which is 43. 43 games from the 80s are considered among the best of all times. From the 90s, up until 1999, we're finding that there are 116 games. Now, I know it's not a one-to-one comparison because obviously there were more games coming out in the 90s than in the 80s, but the fact remains that gamers were getting a lot of more quality games in the 90s than in the 80s, so it is a good comparison in my opinion. Let's check the 2000s now. That's 106 games. We're not doing 2020s because obviously the 2020s are not done yet, so this is what we have to work with. In the 2010s, 47. So in this list, the 90s is the clear winners. That's 1 point for the 90s. So now let's see what Metacritic users have to say about this matter. We're gonna take a different approach here because, as you can see in this collection, we're gonna have 13 games from each decade being featured here, regardless of anything else. So what we're going to do is take the top 10 games of all time according to Metacritic users and see how many of these games belong to each decade. There aren't any games from the 80s here because Metacritic didn't exist during the 80s. Apparently they started during the mid-90s, I don't know. Let's work with what we have here. From the 90s, we have 2 games. From the 2000s, we have 3 games here. 2010s, we have a grand total of 5 games. So that was another win for the 2010s, and with that, the internet has spoken. The 2010s has been the best decade in video game history. Now, I'm certain many of you won't agree with this result, and if you don't, let your opinion be heard in the comments below. If you have any feedback for me or the methodology I used, then all feedback is welcome. Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for being patient with me. This is one of my first videos. And I want to invite you to use Gemology.com to document and share your own gaming journey. And this is my own profile, and as you can see, I've played 92 games. These are my top games, and all the rest are all the games I've played through the years. And you can do that too on Gemology.com. Thank you very much for your time. Like and subscribe if you like the video, and see you in the next one.